Presented by Listen Headlines, latest world news from trusted sources. Updating daily at 6 a.m. New York. New York Times World News.
November 30th, 5:22 America, New York, the long odds facing China's protesters. Popular protests are more easily begun than ever before, but they are more likely to dissipate, too. People protesting against COVID restrictions in Beijing on Sunday.
New York Times World News.
November 30th, 5:18 America, New York, taking brunt of lockdown, migrant workers fuel China's latest protests. Although security forces have reasserted control in many cities, poor workers could help maintain the pushback against Beijing's strict COVID restrictions.
Washington Post World.
November 30th, 4:57 America, New York, Russian, Chinese bombers fly joint patrols over Pacific. Russian and Chinese strategic bombers have flown a joint patrol over the western Pacific in a show of increasingly close defense ties between the two countries.
Washington Post World.
November 30th, 4:38 America, New York, Syria receives cholera vaccines ahead of inoculation drive. Syria has received 2 million doses of cholera vaccines, the first to reach the war-torn country during a months-long outbreak. Wall Street Journal World News.
November 30th, 4:36 America, New York, Ukraine's power shortages force millions of refugees into lengthier exile. Kyiv's call to its diaspora to stay abroad is forcing many to upend their lives again and turn their temporary flight into a permanent move.
Mirror World News. November 30th, 4:13 America, New York. Mom wants to find Good Samaritan who saved her son's life as he choked on bonbon sweet. Mary Long O'Connor was at her home in Cork, with her young son Martin, when he suddenly began choking on a bonbon sweet in the hallway before a kind stranger swooped in and saved the boy's life.
BBC News World.
November 30th, 4:07 America, New York, Jiang Zemin, former Chinese leader, dies aged 96. Jiang came to power after the Tiananmen Square protests and presided over a period of growth.
Wall Street Journal World News.
November 30th, 4:03 America, New York, Jiang Zemin, former China leader, dies at 96. Jiang Zemin, the former Chinese leader who presided over market-oriented changes that turned China into a global economic juggernaut, died at the age of 96 of leukemia and multiple organ failure.
Mirror World News. November 30th, 4 o'clock America, New York. Fire erupts at Russian thermal power plant as huge plume of black smoke fills sky. Thick clouds of black smoke have been recorded billowing out of an oil and gas power plant in Perm, central Russia, which is around 1,500 kilometers east of Moscow. Washington Post World.
November 30th, 3:55 America, New York, Jiang Zemin, who led China as it emerged as world power, dies at 96. He presided over a period of extraordinary economic growth that by some measures tripled the size of China's economy.
World News, breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
November 30th, 3:39 America, New York, former Chinese president who came to power after Tiananmen protests dies aged 96. The former Chinese president Jiang Zemin has died aged 96, state media has said. Jiang Zemin. Pic. AP.
BBC News World.
November 30th, 3:30 America, New York, China. COVID unrest continues in Guangzhou as lockdown anger grows. Protesters hurled debris and glass at police in the latest expression of anger at zero COVID rules.
World News, breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
November 30th, 3:22 America, New York, South Korea scrambles fighter jets after Chinese and Russian warplanes enter air defense zone. South Korea said it has scrambled fighter jets after detecting 2 Chinese and 6 Russian warplanes in its air defense zone.
World News, breaking international news and headlines, Sky News.
November 30th, 2:14 America, New York. Female referee to take charge of men's World Cup match for first time. A female referee is set to take charge of a men's World Cup match for the first time. Stephanie Frappert will become the first woman to officiate a men in AMP. Number 39's World Cup match.
BBC News World.
November 30th, 1:52 America, New York, Jacinda Ardern and Sanna Marin dismiss claim they met due to similar age. The leaders were asked if they held talks in Auckland because they are similar in age.
Mirror World News.
November 30th. 1:47 America New York, Brit, 74. Lucky to be alive after being knocked down in hit and run in Thailand. Peter Palmer, 74, was on holiday in Thailand when a white pickup struck him while he crossed a zebra crossing and left the scene with him lying unconscious on the ground, it is reported.
Wall Street Journal World News.
November 30th. 1:04 America New York. COVID controls hit Chinese factories, adding risks to global growth. Surveys point to a broad pullback in activity as authorities wrestle with rising cases and protests.